Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Lutz, and welcome to the Frontlines. In the battle against the deep state, the cabal, the Illuminati, and all those that wish to enslave all of humanity for their own selfish reasons. Well, welcome. I've been busy reading and catching up on an interesting timeline. It all came from a Twitter feed from JFK Jr. Now, obviously, it's someone using that title, and if it was JFK Jr. really alive, I don't know if he'd actually be using one that was called JFK Jr. Now, he may be alive. There's a lot of theories out there, and they're very intriguing, and I see as it would be a wonderful, wonderful way to help pull the country back together if he comes out at some point in the future, which we can kind of add to the timeline that we're going to go over. This is a very interesting, set of events that someone has taken the time to go ahead and outline how they see things unrolling from now until January. And so we're going to go through that and kind of discuss it, because a lot of the things I think he's right on about, but other things I think are not going to happen, but that is more about the further out into his conclusions as to where things will go. So we'll get into that. I'd also like to say also that I'm looking at a bunch of other things in relationship to the assemblies. I'm doing research on how other assemblies are doing things, and I've been looking a lot about grand jury systems and how this is being played out, and seeing where all the shenanigans have been played against the people, and it takes a lot of sorting through things to kind of get a picture, and everyone seems to be going down, certain ways, and then they get to a point, and they may be right up to a point, and others may be right up to a point. So it's kind of difficult because all of this has been hidden, and we've been living in this fiction creation, right, that is meant to confuse us, and it has worked. So anyway, I've been diving into that as well. So I have a couple of other things that we're going to touch on before we get into the timeline, but the majority of what we'll discuss today is the timeline. So first, let me pull up a couple of things. These are just some stories I want to go over, and I'll go over them one at a time. Let me pull that up. There we go. So this is an article. I'm not going to go through the entire article. I'm just going to kind of highlight it, right? So on a couple of these. So it's just to kind of give a flavor of where things are sitting. So Biden says voters don't need to know who his SCOTUS picks are, right? So why is that? Why he doesn't want to tell anyone? But it's interesting that Trump is putting out his, but Biden isn't. That's as much as I really want to say about that. And there's a few more of these we'll go through. I'm just going to close them down as we go. Oh, that's the one we'll be getting into. Just hold on. Yeah, my system definitely slows down. We do this. So here's another one. This is Biden again says millions of Americans have died from coronavirus. His quote is, "It's estimated that 200 million have died, probably by the time I finish this talk," which is September 21st. Well, I'm pretty sure that did not happen. And I'm not exactly sure if we're even, where the CDC changed the numbers to where it was less than 10,000 when they took out all the others. Let me jump to this side. Another summit news. Princeton study says Black Lives Matter is responsible for 91% of the riots over the last 3 months. Also very interesting, right? So we were talking about where all of the violence was happening in 200 plus cities, and we looked at the maps. So, here's a study by Princeton, not known to be a conservative university, saying that the violence is coming from Black Lives Matter. Okay, and let's see the next one here. Come on. So this is really the summit intro piece. But anyway, let's look at this. So, whistleblowers are making money from tattling on those who break the rules. So this is. We'll stop here for a moment and just discuss this. And I'm not going to go through all the articles. I just want to kind of touch on because it kind of plays into what we're going to be discussing on the timeline. But the way they've been able to do all of this is through the financial system. The UN, who have organized a COVID relief package for those countries that fall in line and do what they're told, right? Here's the money. So for each COVID death that you report on, we will give you $55,000. Now, this also has manifested itself into hospitals that get paid to report a COVID death so that they inform their doctors to write COVID on all of the death reports. We've seen reports of them being harassed, kind of forced to basically report on this. Why? Because they're getting paid. So again, the financial system being used to pay for what they want to happen, for it to roll out. So it's a corruption that is leading us into a path of where, of course, it is they get vaccinated. That's what this is all about, because from that point they can depopulate. The depopulation plan STEELE is part of their plan. We don't like their plan. Their plan is stupid. Right? If they want to kill themselves, let them kill themselves, not the whole world. Of course, they want to do it the opposite. They think they're going to survive, but they're not. All right, let me switch this back over. Get back over to there. Okay, now let's go over to one of the big booms. So we've been talking about the big booms, rig for red, and now we're showing a bomber with booms, right? Well, isn't this kind of the opposite? South Korea president calls for permanent peace regime in the UN speech. South Korean President Moon Jae said, denuclearization and lasting peace remain possibility on the Korean Peninsula during this virtual address to the United Nations General Assembly on Tuesday. Oh, very interesting, right? Let's look a little bit more into I'll switch to another article here. He is quoted and says, time has come to remove a tragedy lingering on the Korean Peninsula. The war must end completely and for good. Boom! Right? So if peace is rolling out around the world, you've got it going on in the Middle East and now in the Korean Peninsula, they're declaring a peace treaty. Now, before, South Korea never went along and signed anything from the United Nations before and all this, but now they're focused on achieving peace. So this is another big win for Trump, right? Is it going to be in the media all over the place? No, but it is a big boom. Now, is it one of the big booms that is referred to in the post where we're rigged for red. It may be, and it may not be. We'll have to see. We'll have to sit back. Let's see. What I'm picking up on is that it has to do with some high-level arrests happening, and that would be literally in the next few days. May be going on at this moment. It's hard to tell. Is it Brennan? Is it Clapper? Is it Comey? Is it someone higher? You know, it's something along those lines. It's going to have to do with Durham's investigation and his grand jury indictments. Now, could it be with the second boom? Not certain. All right. So anyway, I think that's really newsworthy, right? You know, having the South Korean president declare peace that hasn't happened yet, right? In all this time, I think it's a 70-year anniversary of this event that has been going on on the Korean Peninsula there. So it is time. It is really time to stop, right? And so peace breaking out all over. Okay, so let me also switch back over to here. We'll start our timeline conversation here. So this is where it started for me, right? So I got this post. It says, "They will fight. It's important to be prepared." And then here's the link that will take you to the article. And this is the article. Now, this is from the 20th, so only a couple days ago, by Health Ranger. Likely timeline events to take place from September 20th to January 20th, covering vaccines, SCOTUS, Election Day markets, terrorism, and insurrection. Let me make this a little larger, make it easier to read. What follows is likely timeline of events to take place between now, September 20th, 2020, and January 20th, 2021. Due to the extremely volatility of current events, almost no one dare make predictions these days, but this timeline is based upon interviews with top law enforcement who have ties to federal agencies, with additional sources from the militia community, as well as individuals close to the Trump administration. This timeline, though subject to change, is our best guess at how to move on the chessboard are likely to play out. It covers the SCOTUS nomination, Election Day, Insurrection Act, left-wing terrorism, financial markets, election outcomes, and more. There's also a commendable overview of the coming chaos and here's a link that takes us to another article. We'll briefly look at that later. Which is worth checking out after you review the timeline below. Here's what I see likely to play out at a given our current best information. Pre-election chaos, September 20th to November 2nd. Left-wing insurrectionists will continue to ramp up their riots, resorting to increasing violence, escalating attacks on law enforcement, federal buildings, and conservative groups such as Proud Boys. Next, these attacks will almost exclusively take place in blue cities and blue counties and blue states. That's because Democrats even encourage these riots, while Republicans tend to shut them down with police action. Recent attempts by left-wing rioters to stage large events in red states such as Texas have been quickly shut down. And both Antifa and BLM terrorist organizations have legal protection from their acts in areas where left-wing DAs will refuse to charge them with crimes. And we can see that there's Newt Gingrich talking about Soros funding particular DAs in these blue cities to make sure that they will be ready for this time period, right? So that the people that are picked up and are arrested are let go without bail or not charged, or if there is bail, they're paid for by the Biden campaign officials that are going in and paying out. So there's definitely an effort there coming from Soros. All right, so we'll continue. Next, so notably, a new surge of violence will now take place due to the passing of Ruth Bader Ginsburg, an infanticide advocate who was a hero of the bloodthirsty left because she protected their right to murder their own babies without legal consequence. As child murder is a core value of the demon-worshipping left, they are infiltrated through that foe of unlimited abortion might be appointed to the court. Next, we anticipate pro-abortion rioters and left-wing anarchists will specifically target the homes of GOP senators, rioting outside their homes and threatening violence against them if they do not agree to delay any vote on this new Supreme Court justice until after January 20th. These riots have already begun against McConnell, but will expand to many other senators. Importantly, President Trump will not take aggressive law enforcement action against a terrorist uprising before the election. Rules of engagement with rioters will continue to be relatively passive, allowing rioters to escalate their tactics without much responsibility from federal law enforcement. This will change after the election, see below. But until then, America is going to have to endure 40 days of chaos, arson, violence, and illegal rebellion activity that will target Trump supporters, law enforcement, Christians, and conservatives. Next. During this time, U.S. Senate will likely hold hearings for the new SCOTUS nominee, but will not hold a vote before the election. The reason for this comes down to vulnerable Senate seats where GOP members in tight races might be unable to hold their seat if they are forced to vote on a new SCOTUS nominee before the election. So let me stop there for a moment. So I'd like to point out that Romney came out today and said that he was going to be supportive of the nominees, right? I don't trust him for a moment, right? They need, if Romney flips with the other two, left-leaning Republicans, that 53 margin will disappear, and you'll end up with Vice President Pence having to make the deciding vote, right? So, but anyway, I don't hold up that Romney will stay true to what he's saying right now. So that being said, will they actually push through this vote right now before the election? I also agree that they probably are not going to do that because, as I said, they need to basically conserve as many of these state seats. Now, is it a definite if they do the vote before that they'll lose those vulnerable states? I don't think so, actually. I think they could actually win. But I think they're going to take a tactical position and not vote on it until after the election. That being said, there will be a new conservative on the bench before the next election. Whoever wins the election takes seat in the 20th. So that will be done. So ultimately, either way, there's a new conservative justice put on the Supreme Court. So I don't think there's a necessity to vote prior. I don't think there's any benefit to it. So I'm in agreement with him on this point. All right, to continue. Sorry for my dog barking if you can hear that. The stock market will continue to trend upwards during this time due to relentless money printing by the Federal Reserve. They will pull out all the stops to keep the markets going, even if it means directly purchasing equities. There will be a huge price to pay for this money printing later, of course. Well, let's take a moment right here. Let's talk about this because this is already going on. The special purpose vehicles that were established with the CARE Act so that we can help with the pandemic that's going on, they set these up. They are set up by the Treasury with an open credit card from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is forced to pay into the SPVs to pay out to buy all of these stocks, bonds, debts, mortgages, everything. And they will buy up 50% of all debt by the end of the year. So that's already going on. So why is the stock market going up? Well, one, they're buying stock. They're buying stock in these corporations. So this is an important point that I want to point out, because this is where, when he comes to further conclusions later in this timeline, he's missing the point, and why I think some of his end conclusions are wrong, which is a good thing. So let us continue again. So next, there's a strong possibility of military conflict with China in the South China Sea near Taiwan before the election. Pentagon forces are itching for a war that they want to stage a conflict, there to be an open coffer so that the money, more money flows into the weapons contractors who give kickbacks to the top Pentagon officials. Well, I think he's right there. And also China is in need of a conflict. One thing, the reason why we know that the deep state wants war is always to cover up blunders, their own blunders, like to cover up an economy crash, which is what's happening in China. With all of the stuff happening with between the U.S. and China, their economy is suffering. The way that they're being boxed in from around the world with Trump and all of his allies, China is suffering. China needs to, in order for Xi Jinping to stay in power, he needs to basically create wins, right? And these wins come in the form of military conflict. That's why there's been extra attention happening in South China Sea, and also in the border with India, the disputed regions in which they've been fighting. And I must say that India has been winning in these skirmishes that have been happening. The Indians are very adept at this high altitude in the Himalayas conflicts, right? And they know how, their troops know how to fight there, where the Chinese troops really don't have conflicts to deal with, and they're from the cities, and they don't know how to breathe at high altitudes. So, but they also need to have a conflict. So they've been firing missiles into the area where the U.S. the previous week had their forces. So, oh well, the ship's already left, but but they fired the missiles pretty late, like a week later. So this is the kind of saber rattling, like afterthought kind of we'll rattle our sabers later. And so this is likely that this could happen, because they also want to create more chaos in the world before the election. Because their whole narrative that nobody is listening to is vote for Biden and all this stops, right? Which isn't true, but that's what they're trying to pitch out there as their narrative, and it's not going to work. Okay, let's move on to Election Day here. On Election Day, Big Tech will activate widespread censorship of nearly all conservative channels, blacklisting them from posting so only pro-Biden conversations can take place online. Any who post in favor of Trump will be instantly banned. Instantly banned. So that also means I will probably be instantly banned. It will be across the board. They've been dialing it up, putting more pressure on. Look, X22 report was taken off. Almost 1 million subscribers, right? He's off. He's made his own channel, put up his own servers to host his own, like even if BitChute goes down. Now, I'm watching his stuff on BitChute still, right? So I would suggest people also go look him up at BitChute. My link for my channel on BitChute is in the description down below. Oh yes, and as well as the donation links, which I'd be much appreciative of. I think it's on this. I might not have edited it, but I'll edit it later. But I've been putting the Life Force donation email for PayPal down below as well. So if it's not there at this moment, it will be after I shortly edit this the description after this video. So anyway, but any of your donations are much appreciated. I have been receiving daily donations. I didn't actually check this morning. But if you donated today, I do appreciate that. Okay, back to the article here. Okay, so next, the insurrectionist corporate media will gaslight the nation, declaring Trump isn't winning even when he is. Any result that showed Trump winning in a landslide will be dismissed as early disinformation because, of course, the media has to give the Democrats enough time to counterfeit the fake ballots they need in the districts they need to try to steal the election. As the election gets underway, the left-wing media will fake exit polls to try to establish Biden is winning. This way, when Democrat counterfeit ballots are stolen, election results will match all the exit polls, and the media will claim it all checks out. Yes, of course they're going to fake that. Okay, next. By the end of the day, Trump will be winning the electoral victory, but many swing states such as Michigan and Pennsylvania will deliberately delay the reporting of their results, claiming mail-in ballots will take weeks to count. So they will refuse to officially report any victory for Trump. Now, I think that this is going on now. I don't know if Trump has the lawsuits in those two particular states to prevent this mail-in ballots, taking weeks to count. I know he's going after that in multiple states, and this could be something that goes to the Supreme Court pretty quickly. Might be good to get another judge on. So maybe if this does play into it, this may be another factor where let's get the new justice in before the election so that there is an actual majority on the court before this election counting of mail-in ballots gets before them. Oh, excuse me. Okay, next. Throughout Election Day, the left-wing media will also robotically claim voter suppression, setting up the narrative that if Trump wins, he must have won by suppressing the vote of black people because he's a racist, of course. Note, I will be covering Election Day events live at on this social media platform on Brighteon.social. Okay, that's good to know. All right, next, immediate post-election action. Immediately after the election, Democrats will likely activate their full-blown chaos agenda and throw the country into mass chaos, making any accurate counting of remaining votes almost impossible. This will likely begin with so-called zero-day attacks that will target U.S. infrastructure, including power grid, telecommunications, transformation, and water supplies. Okay, I'd like to make a comment here. If you remember our favorite poster at 17NES, he is making references to the power grid being protected. So, and also several times, any claims to other than that are false. So they're saying that is protected. Now, that there could be, minor, issues. Well, after all, California is having rolling blackouts, right? Because they're so against power. Crazy. Okay, next. These attacks will plunge many areas of America into extreme chaos and lead to exploding crisis scenarios, which will quickly escalate into panic among the population of certain cities where the attacks are focused. Next. In concert with zero-day attacks, left-wing insurrectionists will be given the go signal and flood into the streets, violently attacking Trump supporters with the full force of weapons they have smuggled into the hands of Black Lives Matter terrorists via the communist China, which is providing heavy weapons to U.S. Insurrectionists, full auto battle rifles, RPGs, mortars, and more. Now, we have seen, so this is a comment here, is like that there have been seized weapons that have come from China that were going, and also other evidence showing that Black Lives Matter people were receiving these in this autonomous chop zone that they had, or Chaz zone, whatever they end up calling it. So, and there's a lot more evidence to what China has been involved with, because they've been itching for a war with America in some way, but they couldn't take them on because of the mutual assured destruction of the nuclear weapons. So this insurrection from within is the method. And that's what we're in. This is why it is a war, a worldwide civil war, because it's against the whole financial system, the deep state. This is what we're fighting, but on the streets of America is where we're going to end up here. All right, so let's continue. Within days of many American streets, we will be in full-blown active war zones. This will quickly force Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act, which he will do, activating military assets, which he has pre-positioned in 50 cities under cover of Operation Warp Speed, the vaccine program. So, now, I've been making comments about this with Trump when he's giving his speeches and talking about the Operation Warp Speed. We're going to have the vaccine ready, and we're ready to deploy it now, right? They're already making the vaccines, right? And they've actually manufacturing them even without FDA approval, considering the FDA approval will come later, but it will already be manufactured. And in the hands of who? The military. Already done and deployed. The military has been deployed with the vaccines, right? And where are they going to go ahead and deploy them? Maybe at voting centers? I'm just guessing. Why not come out to the voting center, get your vaccine and place your vote? Hey, it's all safe that way, isn't it? Of course, it will only be voluntary. So, here we go. So, next. From here, curfews will be enacted in many cities, and military personnel will be quickly regain control of the streets. This will drive left-wing forces into guerrilla warfare mode, which will continue through January. In this mode, left-wing terrorists will resort to classic guerrilla warfare tactics such as sabotage, politically targeted assassinations, bombings of key infrastructure. We are going to witness a radical left descend into full-blown militant insurrection forces like the Shining Path in Peru, with kidnappings of children, of prominent conservatives, assassinations, bombings, and more. It won't take long for this to escalate. So I think this is pretty much true. We're going to see that it's no holds barred. Also, all of their restraints will be lifted. They're just going to go for it. They have no choice. They will die otherwise. Because what will be coming now are the mass arrests, and they will go after them. So they're going to have to make a move. But that being said, the system of contact tracing these individuals has been in place for a long time. And they know who all of them are, and they know how they're talking and how they're communicating, and they will be stopped for the most part. Though these events will occur, right? Because you can't catch everything, but they will mostly be stopped. That's my prediction. But anyway, we'll continue here. Okay, post-election chaos: November, December, January. So we anticipate several Democrat-run states flat out refusing to certify results in favor of Trump, no matter how long it takes. We are essentially going to witness acts of secession among several blue states, most likely California, Oregon, and Washington. Hey, we're being sold to China. Next. During this time, legal battles will be raging at local levels across the nation, with Trump's legal team attempting to nullify fraudulent votes and fake ballots printed by the Dems. The Democrats trying to include all fake votes that they have fabricated after the election. The future of this nation will depend on the outcome of these legal battles, perhaps coming down to a single court in a single state that could determine the entire election. Next, the possibility of increased tension with China, perhaps a proxy war involving Taiwan, is heightened during this time. Watch for the naval vessel conflict of some sort, which I think is also true. I think this is also true. Okay, we anticipate the U.S. Senate voting confirmation of new Supreme Court Justice fairly quickly after the election, most likely Amy Barrett. The fact that she's a woman will avoid the left-wing media's usual fabrication of sex-related allegations against male nominees, Kavanaugh, Clarence Thomas, etc. But they will find new ways to attack Barrett, most likely by attacking her religious faith. To the demons on the left, a person of faith is seen as their mortal enemy. Next. By all measures, Democrats will flat out refuse to concede the election to Trump no matter what the votes say. Even if Trump is winning a 400-vote electoral landslide, they will claim it's not legitimate, and therefore they will refuse to participate in the election outcomes unless they win it. So I believe that this is still true, that they're going to basically claim that he's not legitimate. I mean, we see it already, and they're already saying that that's what they're going to do. No surprise there. Next, we wouldn't be surprised if some prominent Democrats attempt to split off and claim Biden is the legitimate president, asserting that Trump stole the election through whatever mechanism sounds good at the time. They may try to invoke a military coup against Trump for even physically overrun and occupy the White House to physically place Joe Biden inside that symbol of power. Now, I think this is also something that could be something on their agenda. I don't think that they would be successful. They already tried that. Even though the mayor of D.C. was not cooperative, they still were able to prevent this overrun from happening. Okay, next. During this time, we see a very strong role for the militia groups nationwide in protecting local areas, and perhaps even the White House, against left-wing attempts to overrun and seize control by force. There will likely be standoffs and possibly kinetic engagements between military forces and left-wing insurrections, although we would encourage Patriot Americans to allow the military to do its job to put down the insurrection using Insurrection Act powers under the direction of President Trump. It's also very true. So the militia is strong in a lot of locations, a lot stronger than people even know about. Just think of all of the ex-military people, or even, let's say, when there was a purge done by Obama, and he removed, I think it was many thousands of military officers, forced retirements and put his own people in place. That's why we have a potential of a problem inside the military, but they may also already be identified and known how to handle those. But there is a military problem, right? Not with the average, military officer. No, it's with the paid off and blackmailed ones. So that is definitely an issue, but and there may be some kinetic exchanges, meaning firing between the both sides that goes on during this time. Again, this is war, and the militia is an official body of the American government to protect it. Right? It's we the people standing up for our country. This is another form of assembly, I would say. All right, so let's go on. Next here. Also, during this time, we will be the same battle over the faithless electors that we saw in 2016, where the blue states try to force their electoral college voters to vote against the will of the people, denying Trump the official electoral college vote that he needs to officially claim the second term. However, recent court cases have ruled in many states that these faithless electors are not allowed to simply vote whatever they wish. So if this effort will fail, so that's good. I wasn't aware about that, but that's good to know that there were already lawsuits that basically would prevent them from doing this. So, but I think try it anyway, just because it's a quiver in their arrow, as Nancy Pelosi, another arrow in their quiver, as Nancy Pelosi likes to point out. They've got many, so they'll use them all. It doesn't matter if that arrow has no arrowhead on it or doesn't have any fins for flying. All right, next. Importantly, the new SCOTUS justice will be sworn in during this time, granting conservatives a 6-3 majority. Technically, it'll be a 5-4 majority since Robert is compromised blackmail traitor who now votes against conservative principles. That is also true. This will be key as it seems likely or more local court decisions involving mail-in votes will end up in the hands of the Supreme Court under the emergency appeal, and the court ruling will pivot and decidedly on accepting the outcome of the election. Yep, I think that's all true. We're going to see that happen. In the end, we currently give Trump a 70% chance of achieving victory after everything is said and done, with a significant improvement over where it was in April of this year in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. Biden's 30% chance comes from a level of extreme organization of illegal ballots, harvesting, voter fraud, ballot counterfeiting that is being carried out by the lawless left, along with the coordinated censorship of nearly all pro-Trump voices across the social media and big tech platforms. So this is also, I think, pretty accurate. 70% chance. I would favor a little bit more positive, putting them maybe at 80 or 90%, but I can accept 70% because there's a lot at play. There's a lot of dark forces at play here that want to make sure that he's not president because it's their life. They're doing everything they can to stay alive. And it's not a joke. It's not a figure of speech. Literally, their death. All right, next. During these months, we anticipate very high volatility with several plunges in the markets and social chaos, as unleashed across the country. The left-wing riots, infrastructure failures, general feelings of doom and gloom will put heavy downward pressure on the markets, and it wouldn't be outlandish to expect a 30% correction in the Dow during this time, with perhaps a 40% correction in certain overvalued tech stocks. Gold, silver will skyrocket during this chaos, as will prices of guns and ammo. Well, I could say that I can go either way on this prediction, right? I can see a path where this does occur, and I can also see a path where the markets are going to be continued to be purchased up. Doesn't matter. The system is what the system is. The Fed can keep pumping out the cash. No matter how high the price of the stock goes, they can keep buying it. Now, this only is going to keep supporting the markets all across the board. And they haven't even lowered the Fed rate, lending rate to negative territory yet. So they still have that they can do, which means all debt can be continually refinanced at negative interest rates until there is no debt left. And then only ownership of those assets is in hand. This is where I have a viewpoint that says that the dark path as we go down these predictions of this timeline, I think that this timeline is a possibility, but I don't think as likely as a more planned out, more positive outcome that really is going to, what I think is going to happen. So we'll get into this. All right, next here. U.S. military troops will maintain a heavy presence on the street or left-wing cities, which is nearly every large city, in order to maintain law and order. To some people, America will begin to look like a war state under martial law, but in fact, most conservatives will welcome the presence of troops, given the extreme violence of radical left. Expect to see the military roadway checkpoints around many U.S. cities. No issue with that. This is also pretty likely to happen right after this election season for months yet, as these people are picked up and taken. Remember, we have 200,000 sealed indictments that are still going to be coming about. These people are going to be on the run, right? They're also going to try and fight, but they're going to be on the run. All right, next here. Expect continued shortages of food, products, and consumer goods during this time, with infrastructure facilities becoming more frequent and left-wing terrorists targeting long-haul trucks and raiding retail stores. We will all be living through a time of extreme shortages and uncertainty. So I do think that this is going to happen to some extent, but not as very deep as it could be. And it's because of this unlimited Fed printing of cash and just carrying through. In the end, we'll end up with a new asset-backed, gold-backed money, but everything will be transformed. And if when you're buying up all the assets, that are there, paid for with the funny money, and in the end, all the funny money disappears, but you have all the assets, I really don't see a problem. Remember, we're draining the financial deep state system by what's in place right now is draining them. So I think the Fed was at 2 trillion negative right now on their balance sheets. That's going to continue. It's going to go up and up and up and up. All right. Well, but I do think that it's a good idea to be prepared and have 3 months worth of food, energy, water purification, rain barrels, ways of storing water. Okay, let's go on. The national economy will continue to crumble during this, with sharp increases in joblessness and homelessness. Expect a very long food lines across all 50 states, with tens of millions of Americans facing food insecurity, as well as imminent homelessness if the federal ban on evictions is lifted. So, yeah, if there's a federal ban of evictions lifted, I think that we're going to see a different sort of help coming for the landlords. Right? I think there's going to be a package when the conservatives are in charge of the House and Senate and the presidency. You'll see that they're going to come out with a package to help the landlords. There'll be no reason to evict anyone. A lot of the problems with the evictions have to come with all real estate is leveraged, meaning that they're all paying mortgages. If they didn't have to pay that, right? And we're basically that tax was eliminated from them, and even in the future, so they would be able to survive on the ones who are able to pay rent ongoing, right? And even lower rents. I will say that there is conversations going on in England. So as I'm tapped into some of the scuttlebutt there, is that this idea of the rents being where they are going to plummet, right? Especially in office buildings and elsewhere to basically more reasonable levels. So that is, I think, more likely. Again, so this timeline we're at on and what we're reading here is possible, but I don't think is likely at this point. I think he's going off into a more dark area. I don't think we go there at all, not at all. But it's good to see where it's good to be prepared. We should have 90 days of food on hand. Okay. Next is, along with this, we expect sharp increases in local crime, as once polite people turn desperate, being looting and stealing in order to feed themselves and their families. Crimes again of desperation will skyrocket. And I think this can happen, but I don't think will happen. I think that we will. There will be a minimal amount of this kind of thing. So the desperation will be relief. There will be places to get food, and there may be lines, but it will be a way in which people will be able to manage through this trying time. Okay, so here we go. So vaccines will become available during this time, and the government may offer financial incentives for people to get injected. Given the economic collapse and desperation, many people will agree to the immunizations over the next few years. We will all come to learn how these vaccines ended up killing so many people and rendering huge numbers of permanently infertile thereby achieving depopulation goals. I think that this is what they want, but I don't think this will happen. The vaccines will be made available. And remember, there's different vaccine manufacturers, at least 3 in the U.S. that are working towards getting their approvals. If any of them are, say these RNA vaccines, why would you take them? If they're really loaded up with all sorts of other things, why would you take them? These, what they call adjutants, to agitate your immune system into responding. These I don't think are going to be the most highly sought out type of vaccines. If there's a vaccine that doesn't do these things, maybe that's okay, right? The concept of vaccines is not a bad concept. It's just the way they've been used and what they are, and no effective testing, and this idea of adjutants to the put in like things like sickle cell anemia into the vaccine to agitate your immune system. Well, this has only caused a rise in sickle cell anemia, way far higher percentage around the world wherever vaccines are being used. So this is a way of spreading disease, is what it's become. So it's bad use. Anyway, I don't think it will be made mandatory. So here we go, Inauguration Day, January 20th, 2021. With Trump the likely winner of the election, see above, Inauguration Day will witness a heavy protest of unhappy leftists, and they will see this day as their last opportunity to try to overthrow the nation or go down in flames trying. That is true. Next. Here, the media will reveal their true treason against America, and they will denounce President Trump for his second term. I think they've already done that. Anyway, next, on this day, we expect many top Democrats and deep state traitors to flee the country, as their arrests will be imminent. That is very true. Next. This may be the day the left-wing governors and traitors within the Pentagon declare war on America, setting off a full-blown civil war that could eventually see UN troops invade America and fighting on the side of the Democrats to try to overthrow the U.S. government and install their own president into power. We won't know more about this dangerous dynamic until we see how the election plays out. I'm sure that these actors, these bad actors, are waiting in the wings to make this happen. I don't think it will occur. I think that they're already checkmated and they don't even know it. That's what I think is played out here. The 5D chess that Trump and the Patriots and the 17 ending us and all the rest of it have been playing is all about getting rid of them. And when they start getting rid of them, it's going to be one fell swoop. Look at the support that Trump has, right? It's far in excess of the majority. It's far in excess of a supermajority. It may be 70% of the population in such over-exuberant saying, "We love you, we love you, we love you," is a chant. That's never occurred before. It's amazing. So that's why I don't think that they're going to really have the chance that they think they are. Again, I think that's their plan to do this, but I don't think it's going to be successful. Here we go. Post-Inauguration Day. Assuming Trump wins the election and his second term sets off an epic flight to defend America by arresting and shutting down the treasonous actors, insurrectionists, and deep state traitors who tried to overthrow the nation, we will see mass arrests of people like James Comey, John Brennan, and perhaps even Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama himself. One of the masterminds of the deep state treason against America. California Governor Newsom, a hardened mafia criminal, will also be likely arrested and charged with money laundering and sedition. All of this is pretty true. This may even happen now. This part in green right here, mass arrest of people like James Comey and John Brennan. If this was to happen now as opposed to later, I know the media would be, they just explode. All of their heads simultaneously on the air would all explode. So, but I would say this is a possibility. In fact, I think that we're going to see some sort of indictment coming in the next couple of days as one of the other booms. But we will see. Next here. With Trump in power for a second term, the radical left will go scorched earth on America, activating every asset and destroying America's infrastructure, poisoning water supplies, bombing buildings, burning cities to the ground with mass murder as many people as possible. This is the goal of leftists. They hate America and they want to see it destroyed, and they know that this is their last opportunity to bring the country down before they are exterminated and removed from power. Importantly, in Trump's second term, the DNC will be disbanded and Democrat Party implode. This is also very true, though I think they have no chance of any sort of major success. They could poison a water supply. They could do all of these things, but it's going to be fairly minimal, though people could get hurt and die in this. But it's not going to be, it's going to be nipped in the bud every time it starts to pop up, but it will pop up. Next. Ultimately, we hope to see Trump ordering the military police arrests of big tech CEOs. I think so. While seizing tech companies. I think that's what's happening. They're being bought out right now. SPVs are buying them out. They will have no control over these companies. Fake news media operatives who are mostly working with China and the CIA, university professors who are terror recruitment operatives, and leaders of all the left-wing monuments will be rooted in violence. So whether he pursues all this depends largely on how much outcry there is from conservative Americans against the terrorism and treason of the left. So your voice will be important at this time. And this is all very true. So these arrests will start. And is it again after the inauguration? Yeah, it could be. It could take until then. I'm not really against that kind of thought. But I do think that we are standing up and we are making our voices known, and people are getting it, right? And they're waking up, right? Hashtag walk away from the Dems. All right, here we go. Next. If, on the other hand, Trump loses the election because Democrats have rigged it and we expect civil war, we will be underway by this time with any number of scenarios unfolding across the landscape in cities and states. Well, I say that's a true statement, but not likely. Next. No matter who wins, we see America breaking apart by 2025 as lunatic left-wing Democrats now flatly incompatible with civil society. They cannot function in a system rooted in fairness, free speech, equal protection under the law. They can only flourish under rigged authoritarian systems rooted in government tyranny and the destruction of fundamental human rights, such as the right to speak. Nearly all Democrats have been transformed into hate-filled, raging lunatics who cannot function under a system of law and reason. Thus, we don't see California, Oregon, and Washington wanting to participate in any future nation where their government tyranny is nullified by liberty. They may attempt to secede from the Union, setting off regional civil war action with their own states as rural citizens face off against urban citizens to determine who controls the fate of their states. Okay, well, here's where I do have a bit of a disagreement with this. So I don't see America breaking apart by 2025 at all. I don't think we're going to get to the next election in 2024 and then Trump's going for his third term as he is given, after all the court suits and abuse against the impeachment process and all the treason that took place during the first term, the conservative Republicans put forth a change that allows for Trump to run for another election or two or three or two until he says he's done, right? As a punishment against the insurrection that took place against him, right? His compensation for putting up with all this, right? Instead of getting, free run of the government to do as he was elected to do. But I agree that the neoliberal Democrats have been transformed into hate-filled, raging lunatics, and they can't operate under that system, right? So let's talk about this a little bit. All right. So these people, number one, are spoiled, right? They expect everything. They're even if they are employed, they have this attitude about being entitled. If they're not employed and they went through college and they're saddled with all this and all the debt because they're angry with that, they will start seeing that debt be eliminated. They won't have that on the top of them anymore. And who'll be responsible? Well, Trump. They'll start seeing some good things. So I think that as much as that there are a good segment of that, so let's say there's 30% that are leaning towards that direction. Only 3% are radical enough to do anything, right? And of those 3%, almost none of them have any ability to stand up against opposition to them. At this point, the whole world, not just a state or not just the region or not just the country of the United States, the whole world would have been transforming into this more positive direction. And they're not going to basically be able to go up against that. They're going to retreat to their little enclaves. And if they had done anything bad, they're going to be found out and they'll be put into jail. I really don't see that they're going to be able to stand up. And no matter how much training they've had, right, that the amount of them that are actually able to take action is going to be very small. And compared to the other side, let's say even the militias or even the U.S. military that are going to be there to interfere, or law enforcement, across the board, they're not going to stand a chance. I completely believe that though they may have this in there, they have these ideas, and I think this is true. What this line of thought that they're thinking is out there. I think it's from a view of reality that doesn't really see where they actually are. It's a fantasy. So they think that they're going to do this. But again, as soon as there's opposition to them, they fold. They fold right away. They can't. They are damaged people in the way that they've been brought up in the society. And the way that the teaching system has taught them to be hateful, they I think will be able to start realizing that they are in the wrong, and we might be able to save a lot of them. But again, I'm not saying that some of this isn't going to occur. It's not going to result in the breakup of the United States. They're not going to allow for the Chinese to roll into California, Oregon, and Washington. It's not going to happen, right? They only want it to happen. They're making plans for it to happen. It's not going to happen. All right, let's get back. We're rounding it out here. Next here. America as we know it will cease to exist by 2025. Even if Trump wins, we will be the last president of the USA as we know it. And I disagree with that completely. Next, sometime in 2021, markets will likely suffer catastrophic correction. Social implications of this are beyond scope of this report, but will be enormous. Yeah. Well, obviously, if that was to happen, it would be enormous, but I don't think it will happen. As I said, I think that we're really looking at a well thought out plan. The Rothschilds have already lost their position. They have no money. They're not even in control of their in the faction wars between the Black Sun groups and the Dragon families. The Dragon families are now out of power. Black Sun gets into power, but they find the whole world is different. So this is this world is changing. That dynamic of that old system has the key players in going up against it have known what it is, and they've been planning for a long time how to unseat them. And so I do believe that that not only will the United States be strong, I see that the concept of the United States will spread to the world. And you could say you would have the United States of the world happen as a more likely pathway for us to travel. Because the document itself, the Constitution, the concepts are what we're really focused on. And every country can kind of fall in line and really support the people and forget about this. But we have to replace the financial system with something that is not geared towards greed. It has to be geared towards abundance. And forget and not listen to all of the ones that would go against that, because it's against their pocketbook why they're supporting it, right? So anyway, let's continue here. In the end, everyone will come to learn you can't run an economy on fake currency and debt creation. Yeah, right. Well, at least not more than 50 to 100 years. This entire system is coming down no matter who's in the White House. They can only keep it afloat for a while longer. But much the same is also true for China. It's actually going to be integral to see which nation's financial system collapses first. Well, it's not going to be America. It's going to be China. They're already collapsing. Okay, how do we get prepared for the 40 days? Okay. First, download my free 9-hour audiobook, The Globalist Reset Survival Guide. There you go. Secondly, I will be posting another free audiobook called Survival Nutrition. All right. Thirdly, social media channel on Brighteon. Okay, that'll help. All right. Watch all the videos at prepwithmike.com, which teaches you how to prepare for your firearms and red dot sightings and emergency gear and more. Stock up on food, firearms, ammunition, communications gear, water filters, off-grid gear, whatever you think you might need for survival months or years of chaos of civil war. There are many scenarios which civil war becomes the most likely outcome. Bug out of the cities now while you still can. Do not wait to be left in any large city once this gets underway. Prepare your internet outages and sabotage. We are going to be posting an IP address soon that you'll be able to use to bypass the DNS system and access our website, even if the global name servers go down. Watch more. Now, when he's talking about that, what he's talking about is called the dark web. Now, you don't have the dark web is just a term used to scare people. Don't go there. Stay in the safe browser areas, right? So people don't even know that the dark net, is really just other websites that just aren't going through that World Wide Web system. All right. Watch more preparedness videos. Okay. You can do that. Read your Bible. Okay. For divine protection. We all need it. All right. And that's it. All right. Let's stop there for a moment. Okay, we're an hour and 11 minutes in to this broadcast, so I'm going to see if we have any questions in the chat room, and then I'll go to some conclusions about this as well. Hello, everyone, and they've got 40 viewers. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. They flipped, Kevin says. Everything upside down. We, the people, are primary lead. That's what I heard from me read. Lender and beneficiary. That is true. They have flipped everything. Debt is owed to we the people. Yes, I think that is why it's being reversed right now with this system. I think that everything that's within the financial system is now being purchased up, and the debt will be eliminated by way of just an automated system of negative interest rates on debt. If I owe $100, right, to the bank, and they're basically I borrow $100 from the bank to pay it off, and I got it at a negative 1% loan. That means I got an extra dollar. If I did that repeatedly forever until I got all the debt paid off, there is no debt. Effectively vanishes, with all the assets then purchased on the other end and owned by the U.S. Treasury, which means the people. So I see that's how things could come down. Okay, let me see what else is in here. Some days it's been hard to hear you. I'm sorry about that. Not much I can do other than put my mouth right next to the microphone, and then I can't read. One day I'll be able to get a microphone again, and well, if I had a mic input and I could wear my mic, I can do that. Fix my desktop computer as well as another possibility. Okay. So Gail is saying, rather angry they don't have a better plan than this. I think they do, actually, Gail. I think they do have a better plan. That's what I'm saying. I think that what we're looking at is that though this scenario is pretty valid, and that people could have that perception, they don't have a complete picture of everything. Like, they might not know about the SPVs being set up by the Treasury and when they did the CARE Act for the COVID relief packages, right? And that the Fed has an open, checkbook writing out for everything that they buy up, which I heard coming from my friends in England that it was a $1.2 billion an hour that was being canceled out. So they're going through it. They're basically pulling back everything that was put into the Rothschild pockets through the Federal Reserve, all of that line, right? All of that was put in is now being sucked back in purchasing all those corporations, in which they have all the people sitting in those seats. So at the end of the day, you can remove those people from the big tech companies, from the board of directors, right? They don't have to be there. These guys are only there because of the system that put them in there. Mark Zuckerberg is not a programming genius that came up with Facebook. No, he's just a stooge. We go all the way down the line, back to Bill Gates. I mean, I always thought he was evil from the beginning of time of computers. The guy was, on my enemies list. I said, and he's only been on that list forever. The guy was truly evil from the beginning. Microsoft never invented anything; they only stole, and then that's why he's a parasite, and can't keep viruses off of the computers, but somehow he's going to keep viruses out of people. I don't think so. So, but anyway, I do think we have a good plan. I think that we see that there is so many people rising up at this time, in going out to see Trump, where he's getting tens of thousands of people at these rallies at the airports, tens of thousands in these battleground states. This is the people of each of those people that go. How many people just couldn't get there? These people are motivated to vote, and they're motivated to bring other people to vote, and they're motivated to basically be there to support the country. Overwhelmingly. This is why they don't have a chance. All of their insurrection tactics and all the stuff that they've been planning and it falls apart because these people have a video game mentality, right? They don't get hurt when they're playing their video games. Their character dies and they get rebooted and they start again. Once they start seeing their friends get picked up and go to jail for 10 years for toppling a statue, they stop toppling statues. Once these people are picked up for arson and are basically taken care of, obviously if the prosecutors are letting them loose, there's a big problem there. So those prosecutors are going to have to deal with the consequences of their actions. There's some fiduciary duties that they are basically not upholding, right? Which is also illegal. I think they're going to find themselves in some trouble. And the Soros money has been also dried up. All of these plans have been put in place to stop the flow of money that they have on human trafficking and drugs and arms and all of it. They don't have the liquidity that they used to. And they find it, they shut it down. Okay, so she's happy. Yes, we have a good plan, Gail, don't worry. But we have to do our part. Join the assemblies, go to lifeforce.global, download the app, go to the App Store and Play Store, go to lifeforce.watch, download the app, join the assemblies, get involved. And right now it's about mail, putting out mail, right? And we're working through the process and putting together the documents, and everyone pitch in, and show up and serve them, right? And get them informed. Say, listen, we're putting you on notice, right? You're supposed to abide by the Constitution. If you're not, you can be held for damages, financial damages, and that really shakes them up, right? It's, whoa, really? If they investigate and they find out, they get into trouble with liens and things of that nature. And wow, suddenly they start thinking about, well, maybe I got to follow the Constitution. We have to hold them accountable. It's up to us, right? This is the time. Hello, see the timeline we're on? It's all happening right now. It's not like something that's going to happen in the future. All the preppers that are out there talking about what they're going to do when all of this happens, and it's here. It's here now. Okay. All right. So we will come back tomorrow, and we'll continue, and we'll make another effort. Please do whatever you can on the donations. My PayPal is down below. Also, the Life Force is down below. If you want to contribute to them, also, it would also be beneficial. And let's keep this rolling. Do what you can. If you need to contact me and need help on anything, my Telegram is the best way. You can also send me an email. Might take a couple of days. For some reason, most things go into spam. Really strange. But anyway, I'm happy to help you on any way that I can. If you got any good stories about stuff that's going on, go ahead and send it to me in Telegram or by email. If it's important, it's time sensitive, send it by Telegram. And that's it for today. Thank you again, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.